Today, I'd like to talk about a genre of games that I feel is highly underappreciated and give a few recommendations for it. That genre is, of course, shmups, which is short for shoot 'em ups. The modern ones are known for skill-based gameplay and their incredible music. It's an old genre, a real classic, and there are still good ones coming out to this day. The number one shmup that I would recommend is ZeroRanger. It's a simple, no bullshit shmup with a beautiful color palette, only consisting of various shades of orange and green, and it's a lot of fun to learn. You dodge bullets, fight bosses, get new weapons. There's actually a surprising amount of strategy and depth for this type of game, as there are 6 weapons, each with 2 variations for what starting fighter you choose, yada yada yada. A lot of the fun comes from using these weapons in new and inventive ways across all the different stages of the game. It's a great introduction to shoot 'em ups, and it has a lot to offer. The music is very solid, the gameplay is challenging but fair, and again, it looks beautiful. I've never seen any other game do a simple color palette nearly this well. If you told me green and orange could look this good together, I wouldn't believe you, but the game looks incredible. I'd recommend it to anyone who enjoys video games. It's very easy to pick up and play, and it's usually about $12 on Steam, so very easy recommend. It was made by a small team from Finland for over 10 years in development, and it's officially still in development. You play as a small fighter craft fighting off an alien invasion. It's got a ton of references to other shmups. It's been called a love letter to the genre, and it has a lot of different features designed for new players. Another shmup that I would highly recommend is Touhou. This footage is from Touhou 8, Imperishable Night, and it's a great introduction to the series. Frankly, you can't discuss shmups without talking about Touhou. You really shouldn't discuss video games in general without discussing Touhou. For those of you who don't know the story, the Touhou franchise started when a guy named Junya Ota, aka Zun, graduated college in Tokyo in 1997 with a music degree. He decides he wants to make music for video games, but nobody was hiring, so he decides to make his own game. And he released his first one, called Highly Responsive to Prayers, later that year, and he's since made 20 mainline games and 13 spin-offs for the Touhou series. He's also very open to fan content, meaning there are several official fan-made works, including 6 fighting games and 16 print works. That's on top of countless other pieces of unofficial content. There's a couple of reasons people want to make this much content, particularly the fact that it's just a very interesting setting. Where a lot of ever shmups have a military or sci-fi theme, this is set in a magical world based on the Shinto religion, which is pretty cool. The games are also notable for having an overwhelmingly female cast, with pretty much every single notable or important character being a woman, just cause. Zun's character design and writing are widely considered to be top-notch. Touhou as a whole is ludicrously popular with artists and people who draw. Look on any site for fan art, stuff like Tumblr or Pixiv, and I guarantee you that Touhou is in the top 5 most popular tags. Characters are just fun to draw. My personal favorite is a fellow on Tumblr called 8Rano, who does really crazy abstract drawings of Touhou characters, but there's a ton of fascinating stuff out there. The music is the best part of these games. It's absolutely jaw-dropping at times. Being a game soundtrack, it's not something I usually listen to on its own, but it shines as a core part of these games. As a side note, Zun uses completely uncompressed audio files, so they're about 90% music by disk space, which is pretty funny. But that's enough background. The gameplay is still pretty fun, and they're the simplest games on this list, but not the easiest. They've just got a shitload of bullets to dodge in a huge variety of patterns. If you do want to try Touhou, I recommend playing 8, 10, or 6 to start. Also, they're not on Steam, so you may have to torrent. Next up on the list is Ikaruga. I'm not a huge fan, but I still feel it's worth mentioning. It's built around a swap mechanic where all enemies and bullets are either black or white and you switch between the 2 colors. You're immune to bullets of the same color as you and you do extra damage to enemies of the opposite color. It is a cool mechanic and I quite like the art style and presentation, but it's just not as clean looking as ZeroRanger, and the music doesn't hold up to something like, say, Touhou. That's not to say it's bad, all shmups have good music, it's just not a standout. It is one of the main games that influenced ZeroRanger, though, which is pretty cool. Overall, out of all the games on this list, is my least favorite, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. Finally, we have a game that I think about before I go to bed at night. It's not Helldivers, it's not Helltaker, it is motherfucking Hellsinker.
It is by far my favorite game on this list. It's not popular, it never will be, it was made because somebody wanted it to exist. It's not made for you, it's not some mass marketable bullshit, it's pure outsider art. And it's a huge inspiration to me. I consider it to be one of the coolest games ever made. I've never beaten it, I've never even come close, I barely understand the mechanics, I find it beautiful nonetheless. The entire game has an incredible soundtrack, it's my favorite on this list, and every single event and enemy in the entire game is actually synchronized to the music, which is awesome. You pick from 4 playable characters, each has a completely unique moveset, especially within SHMUPs. I mean, there's some really insane moves in here. And you fight through a series of stages, which is pretty standard for a shmup. What is unique about this game is what it's going for. It's meant to evoke the feeling of being a child and struggling to learn a difficult game. You don't understand things and you have to overcome that, and you have to step out of your comfort zone. To this end, it pulls some really interesting tricks on you. It comes with a manual, but it's intentionally dense and confusing. This entire section up here just means, oh, you have 7 lives. Again, this is to give you the feeling of trying to learn something complex. The whole game is like this. The font is almost unreasonable, the mechanics are poorly explained, but that makes it all the more fun when you do understand it. And no other game feels like Hellsinker. Very few developers are ever truly willing to make their games difficult or dense enough to turn away players. Some games are that difficult, but it feels arbitrary. Anybody can make a difficult game. Hellsinker is different because the difficulty is a natural result of the game's true purpose. It's not difficult just to give you that sense of accomplishment, it is a beautiful and complete game in its own right. The lore is fascinating, the character is incredibly fun. I hope someday to make something as beautiful as Hellsinker. I honestly would not recommend it unless you truly love video games and all they have to offer. I'm not even going to try to get to the mechanics here, because that's not really what the game is about. I think I've already said everything that needs to be said about Hellsinker. I think it is absolutely worthwhile that it was made. Thank you for watching. Remember to like and subscribe.